President Cyril Ramaphosa has described former President FW De Klerk as a respectful and courteous man. Ramaphosa says even though they had their ups and downs, they maintained a good relationship. The president delivered the eulogy at the state memorial service of the last apartheid president at Cape Town's FW De Klerk.
We had moments of friendliness, but we also had our moments of disagreement. He could be affable, but he could also be very stubborn. And he was a worthy opponent, a man of great intellect who could argue his point. He could be prepared to compromise, but he could also dig in his heels. Sometimes he offered me counsel, other times I did the same. I offered him counsel. And there were times when strong words were exchanged between us. Yet even in moments of difficulty, at times when we were close to the brink, I found him to be courteous, respectful and committed.
My colleague Athi Mtongana was following developments at that memorial service, and something else that the president said, Athi, was that it should not and cannot be that the task of bringing about reconciliation rests squarely on the shoulders of those who were oppressed.
True, Dudu, he did in fact emphasize on that point, but I just want to go back to the relationship that he highlighted that he had with South Africa's last apartheid president and Deputy President FW De Klerk. He highlighted how he first met him many years ago, including the time where he had engagements with him during the CODESA negotiations. Interestingly, in him bringing up his relationship with FW De Klerk, we then also heard with an interview that I conducted with the DA's Helen Zille, the relationship that De Klerk also had with Helen Zille, who was at the time a practicing journalist in South Africa. She was noting how FW De Klerk was most of the time one of the few cabinet ministers in the apartheid government that were very difficult to engage with, but she says she got to a point where she understood the man that De Klerk was, similarly to the way that President Cyril Ramaphosa described the relationship that he had with De Klerk, saying that he was a worthy opponent, he was able to argue his point, and that's exactly what then Helen Zille was pointing to, that De Klerk was focused on whatever he needed to do on that particular time or day. He would not be persuaded unless he really engaged thoroughly the people that were involved in conversations or engagements that he would have during the apartheid regime. Now, I also want to then point out that President Cyril Ramaphosa said that in building cohesion in South Africa, social cohesion, we need to address some of these issues, the atrocities from the past, saying that we can simply not just sweep these matters under the carpet in order for society to not repeat some of the crimes against humanity that were acted upon by the apartheid government. He says it's important that the state held the state memorial service for FW De Klerk, even at the back of many people questioning why they even held the state memorial, knowing very well that the victims of the many massacres under De Klerk's leadership are still waiting for answers that they never received and justice that they never received as families. And part of the things that FW De Klerk brought to the table, according to President Cyril Ramaphosa during the negotiations, the CODESA negotiations, was the issue of maintaining and upholding the rights of the minority in South Africa. I want then us to listen to what he exactly had to say pertaining to FW De Klerk's making it known in those negotiations that they need to uphold the rights of the minority in South Africa.
He acknowledged both his fears about change and the extent to which the new democratic constitution answered those fears. Even as he entered into negotiations, he was fearful of a number of things. Much as he spoke about universal suffrage or majority rule, it did instill a fear in him. Even as he spoke about equal rights for all, he and his party wanted minority rights, cultural rights, and the language of Afrikaans to be protected. Even as he expressed his doubts about some parts of the Constitution, he was prepared to acknowledge that it provided a foundation for a South Africa in which the rights and the freedoms of all its people would be guaranteed.
Thank you very much for that update. You did